Hey everyone, it's Dr. Scott. This video is going to cover make sure I get this right, because there's a lot of things on that prompt, as you probably noticed. A statement about your interest in the question and project, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about Gantt charts and the timeline part. I think that's item number 9 on the final project prompt. So the statement about your interest in the question and project. So there's a few things that you can do there. I think it might be helpful to talk a little bit about how you arrived at the research question. You can talk a little bit about, it started here and then it went here. I don't think you need to give this a ton of detail. This is just it's a short piece. 1 to 2 pages, I think, would be fine. But I think you can say, I started out here and I migrated and moved and shifted to this question, and a little bit about why you made those changes. I think you definitely should talk about what interests you, what genuinely interests you about your topic, what you're excited about, what you're hoping to learn from conducting that research. Even if you're not planning to conduct your study, you're not going to choose the thesis option. I think you can still kind of communicate your interest in the project, even if you're not going to do that thing. So, what genuinely interests you about this potential project? So, and hopefully you have something to talk about there. I think you can also talk about what the project in answering that research question, what it might help you do. If you're a classroom teacher, there's something that you want to learn about burnout, about revision, about pre-writing strategies. What might that knowledge help you do? How might you apply that in your day-to-day? So those are a few things that you might do for the interest statement. This is our first time requiring this, so you guys are kind of the guinea pigs. But I think that those are some things that that you could write about, and I think a 1 to 2 page document, that should be pretty easy for that topic. And I think you all have written about this already in discussion board posts and conversations you've had with me. So this should be kind of a layup part of the final project. That's why I waited kind of towards the end of this series of videos about the final project. That's why I waited that long, because I think it's something you all can knock out pretty easily. I'm going to switch screens here in a second, and I'm going to talk about timelines and what a Gantt chart is. Some of you already know, but I want to introduce you to a Gantt chart, and I'll talk about different kind of timelines and how you might put together a timeline for your project. So this is a work plan that I use in my professional life. There's personal things. I don't mean personal details or anything like that, a major event, we're going to travel this week, or, we got spring break. I have not included that stuff. And it's something I think that I should do. That'll be a recommendation of mine to you here at the end of this video. So the way that I have this set up is each semester I put one of these together and I map out what are the big things that I need to do each month. Not the week to week, grade homework assignments or anything like that. The stuff that I kind of assume that I need to budget time for, but kind of the big things that require some focused time. And there's too many of them in each month. I think I realized that after I've been doing this for a while. But what I realized also is that I would, without something like this, somebody would say, they might ask me in December, they'd say, hey, I'm working on this grant project. It's due in February. Do you want to help out with it? And I might have said, yeah, absolutely. Gosh, that's 2-3 months away. That's not a big deal at all. But with something like this, I can kind of see, there's a lot of things that are going on. I was working on an accreditation self-study, preparing for a site visit. There was a lot of things that were going on. Your midterm projects were coming in. So that's a lot that's going on. So I should probably say no to those kinds of requests. So it helps me identify where I have time and where I don't have time. For you all, what I would recommend that you do, if you want to use something like this, you just go to Insert, Table, and you draw in a table, and it's putting in bulleted list items because my cursor was around a bulleted list. But you would insert a table, go to Insert, Table, and knock yourself out how many months. That's how wide the chart is. and I probably wouldn't try to guess how many tasks are going to be in each month. So you just kind of do a bulleted list, kind of like I did here. So, January, here are all the, or for you all in August or over the summer of 2023, here are the different things that I'll be working on in relationship to my project. And that's not where I would begin. I would begin at the end, begin with that final, with commencement. You're walking across that stage. Leading up to that, what needs to happen? Well, you read the guidelines that Dr. Jen Scott has sent out, like when things need to happen, and you backwards plan from that. So when does that thesis defense take place? When you have to do that presentation? Before that, you need time to rehearse. Before that, you need time to, to write the thing up. And, what are all the steps leading up to that final thing? So, you'll have way out here, whatever month that you want to graduate, defend thesis, attend commencement, all that stuff. And then what are the first, and leading up to that, what are all the steps that need to take place, and how long do you imagine those steps taking? So this is one option for putting together a timeline for your project. You could do something like this, like August 2023, and then just have a bulleted list of things underneath that that summarize what it is you need to do that month. So solidify permissions from school, get your consent forms copied, what kind of clerical stuff do you need to do before you actually start conducting your interviews in September of 2023. So listing out the different tasks, there's a few different ways that you can do it. You can do it this way, or you can run like a, kind of like an extended list, and September 2023, what are the things that need to happen here? But my recommendation to begin with the end, I think that sticks for whatever approach that you take. And then you backwards plan from that, because you want your plan to be realistic and you want it to be feasible. If you promise more than you can actually deliver, this is a good opportunity for you to sort that out. I'll give you one other option to think about when putting together a work plan or some kind of representation of your timeline. This is a Gantt chart, and a Gantt chart, it has kind of a similar concept as that work plan that I put together. Up here is the timeline. Here's the different increments of time, and I kind of like, for a longer project, if you're going to be at this for a couple semesters, you might combine some of the months, put the summer months together, and then it has phases, which I kind of like. It's like what kind of pre-work needs to happen before you're actually collecting data. So it might be permissions and proposals. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is collecting data. Phase 3, analyzing data. Phase 4, writing up your project, and then listing out the different steps underneath those different phases and figuring out like when will that take place. And I think that this is just done in an Excel spreadsheet, and if you're a little bit capable with Excel, this might be the way to go, because you can kind of easily change things and move things around. So come up with a Gantt chart, a timeline, a work plan, whatever you want to call it, whatever is easy for you to produce and is helpful for you to produce, go ahead and do that. Two things I want to mention about a timeline, a Gantt chart, a work plan, whatever you want to call that thing, and whatever you want to put together. One, they're a work of fiction. They change. Like, particularly if you're working with human subjects research, things don't always go to a neat and tidy timeline. IRB might take a little long. It's tough to get a response over the summer sometimes. But think about if that's going to take a little bit of time, what are some other things that you can do? Well, you could get your literature review knocked out, get that lined up. The timeline, it's tough to predict sometimes, but you have things that that you need to do. You'll learn that there's other things that you'll need to do in the course of conducting your project. Your faculty mentor is going to help you with that, and any one of us that could be your mentor, we know that timeline that you're going to submit, it is just kind of a ballpark thing, and we're going to recommend, hey, I think you need to budget some time for this, or I think that this is taking a little too long. We can maybe shorten that a little bit. It's a work of fiction, but I think it's a good practice to start thinking about how long the project might take. The other thing that I want to mention with the timeline is that I want you to honor your personal commitments. My work plan, it didn't have anything about like, major events happening in my life. And I probably need to revise that at some point. We need to build in some time to take some time off. That spring break this year, I took some time off because I needed it. And, I recommend that you build in some time like that for yourself. You all have important relationships to you, important things happening in your life outside of this program. Honor that by making sure that you put that in there. And if you know that there's something coming up in October, a major event in your personal life or maybe your professional life, maybe you take things easy on the research front in that month. So make this thing not a best case scenario. I'm going to be a hard ass and just work all the time on my project. Make it, I'm a human being that's really busy and I got stuff to do, and make it an honest thing. So timeline or Gantt chart, however you want to go about putting it together, that's one part of the final project. And again, we understand that it's a draft, and we're going to give you some things to think about and some things that might change it, and there's going to be circumstances that will alter that timeline as you start conducting your project. So hopefully that gives you a sense of, through these videos, I hope that you've kind of seen, how you might go about conducting, completing the final project and putting some of these pieces together. I think all of these things that we're asking you to do, they're useful. I don't think that there's anything in here that's kind of a BS assignment or, something that's just out there to waste your time or just a hoop to jump through. These are things that, we want to see in your thinking about your research project. And that, they're things that we go through as people that publish in the discipline. We do have to articulate our interests. We do have to think about our goals. We do need to think about our positionality, and we include all that in the projects that we work on. So that's it. If you have any questions about this stuff, reach out. Happy to help. Hope you all are doing well. Bye for now.